And we're live.
Everybody be here. Breathe here. Prepare for deep expiration. And out. Inspiration. Expiration. Expiration. And inspiration. Find your rhythm. Open your eyes and see love all around you. Welcome back, everybody. And to those who have never been here before, welcome. We have a full chamber tonight, don't we? We have Robin's here, and then we have what? How many people? We have 4 people or something like that. 3, 4 people that need to be in the chamber. Something like that. So we better just set our timer a little bit sooner. So plenty of time for the chamber. Where's Sonia? Yeah, she's not late yet.
She's on sun time.
She's on sun time. Did everyone have an enjoyable holiday, time off, relax a little bit? Lots of practice, being around family and friends, more than usual. Lots of opportunities to practice, right? Always. Everyone sitting here remembering the last class? Does everyone have a concept of what that was? Who was here? Do you remember that? Our Immaculate Conception. Oh. It's a powerful class. I love that class. So we're going to enter into 2017, doing a quick review of our last class in 2016. And this was the quote that we were inspired by. The seed it grows from is the unseen. Awareness is the trunk. Its inner hollows are the senses. Its branches are the great elements. The objects of sense perception are its buds. Mahabharata. As always, we do not judge ourselves. We honor where we are at in the here and now. We treat ourselves and others lovingly and compassionately. Focus points. Buds grow, bloom, fade, die, and drop away to be replaced in time with new buds. In this way, the objects of sense perception will do the same. We too will all go through this cycle of life. It is perfect impermanence. If we look at Immaculate as perfection and conception as thought, then it becomes apparent that we are conceived by perfect thought, and therefore we come from the divine. Beautifully worded. Well done, ladies. Beautifully reworded. That was artistic. To fulfill our destiny, purpose, prophecy that comes from our Immaculate Conception is to do nothing more than fulfill the order of life within ourselves and all around us. Is to be an example of that order, to do what that order would do. Think of yourself as a reflection of life. Witnessing yourself being a reflection of life is the most amazing experience. Eventually, living life full and loving and unconditionally will be effortless. Sometimes, then all the time, in any and every situation, life then becomes an eternal experience happening moment to moment. Reflection questions. Where am I in the natural cycle of life? Am I budding, growing, blooming, fading, dying, and or dropping away? As you all spent time in what you would consider familiar situations, any of those of you who did anyone experience those situations differently than they did a year ago compared to how they were with them a year ago? Did anyone have a different experience than they had the last holiday season? Anyone? People nodding, shaking their heads. Anyone want to venture a comment?
More inner peace.
More inner peace. More inner peace. Why do you think there was more inner peace for you, Mary Lou? Why did you think you felt more that way?
Because it's just learning of releasing that old energy that I didn't need to be around any longer, and recognizing that that's their journey right now, but it's not my journey, and so I could be in that moment, and then just really, I was sort of like floating on my body when I was there anyways, and then it was time to go. It's even, yes.
So you were at a place with the situation where you were able to honor where you're at.
Right, and honor where they
and honor where they were at.
Right. And it was all good.
And it was all good. Anybody else?
Okay, and you know the history of this.
Yeah.
This is the first Christmas I've spent with my sisters in probably 5 or 6 years, at least. And it happened over time. There was no rush to get into it, but it became absolutely flowing because there were no expectations, there was no thought, and it happened seamlessly over a number of months. It didn't just happen overnight, but it was coming back into the fold, so to say, but without any expectations with them, and it went beautifully.
Awesome. How wonderful. Anyone else have any Christmas or holiday comments?
Yeah,
Carla?
this was the first time in 5 years that Andy and I did not go up to Vermont to be with his mom. And so, because her birthday is on Christmas, and it just worked out that it wasn't going to happen, but in a way it was absolutely perfect because we didn't want to. We wanted to be with ourselves in our home, and his youngest son and his girlfriend came, and it was just really affirming, like, we're going to form our own traditions, even if it means that we don't partake of anyone else's, do you know what I mean? And for the first time in 5 years, because Hanukkah, the first night was on Christmas Eve, I got to do my menorah. You know, I heard from my mom about all the family that was there, out there in Vegas for Christmas, and recognizing that I was absolutely blissful and content to have not been included in that, and not worried about, oh, well, I wasn't there, maybe I was, you know, missing X, Y, Z, or it's like, no, I'm so happy that they all had a wonderful time and that I wasn't there.
Right.
And it's so incredibly freeing, just like freeing, and it wasn't even like I had to, like we talk about it, it's not a decision the floor is bound. I didn't have to think about it and decide this was a good thing. It was just like, just noticing. It's like, oh, yes, there it is, and now I'm gonna go back to what I'm doing.
And honoring yourself.
Exactly.
Even if you just got married, you know, it's a new journey, a new special love
Yep.
came from the heavens for the both of you,
Yep.
to reconnect again and have that heart connection, which is so meaningful, to honor yourselves, and it's beautiful.
Yes. So it's nice to, you know, we chose ourselves this year, and I think that is going to quickly become a tradition. Dare I say an addiction, perhaps, but not quite. Because we choose ourselves in roles as servants, but also not getting in the way of, or putting ourselves in the way of those old pitfalls and habits and ways of being that don't serve the highest good at all. So,
and these are all wonderful examples of Immaculate Conception. This is allowing things to be reconceived and allowing them to be brought together from a very spiritual space. There she is. Allowing them to be brought together in a very spiritual way, not in any way to avoid anything, but instead to come into a greater space of what is now, and to not be bound by what was, and instead to be attentive to what is.
I mean, I'm saying that's not actually going to work for me. You know, that old pattern of behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
Cat.
I took care of myself, and that was practice for me, because I was by myself, and I was recovering on Christmas weekend from working in a customer service center that was playing Santa Claus, very busy, and then returning on Monday to play Where's My Package, which is a whole other fun game. But I consciously chose
So it can't come out of bed.
customer service. Sorry, Santa didn't get your package to you. I don't have the direct line.
There was a mix-up with Vitamix?
Yeah, a Vitamix mix-up.
oh God.
But I consciously chose to be okay with being by myself. And when I'm by myself, it's really easy for me to eat a bowl of cereal in front of the TV. And instead I made myself a salmon and asparagus dinner. I had a beautiful red tablecloth.
And
I
she
sat in front
posted
of
it
the
on
fire.
Facebook.
Nice.
And I had to post the pictures because my brothers didn't believe that I was going to eat well. So I posted the pictures of what I cooked. I was very proud of myself. It was
What a wonderful gift you gave yourself.
It was practice. It was my practice internally to be good to myself,
And enjoy it.
and it was wonderful. It was.
And she set a beautiful table.
Um,
And you set a beautiful table.
oh yeah, it was just. It was a really nice looking piece of salmon.
Yeah, this is the second question, is really one we've already, that was a wonderful way of covering. How can I support myself in accepting my divinity as an immaculate conceived being? And these are all examples of it, honoring yourself, honoring your worth, and seeing that you are just as worthy as an individual as you are as being part of a group. That does not mean anything different. A worthiness is within ourselves and within the
It's so
space
big
we
for
own.
me to not mope and be sad and say, why aren't I going anywhere for Christmas? And where is everybody? And all that kind of stuff. And not only that, but I needed the time to recover
Yes.
from work.
Mhm.
So that was my Christmas present to myself.
I mean, in that case, you know, and this is, you know, when you have and most people do, but when you have a part of your life that requires you to interface with other human beings on a regular basis, as you become more conscious, you become very grateful for time alone,
Mhm.
and you realize that, you know, that to enjoy solitude is a gift you begin to give yourself. It's not something you feel bad about, sad about. It's something you go, ah. It's a gift. So, so great to see you and whoever else experiences that more that way. Do I realize that I have a specific purpose that was immaculately conceived by God? What do I perceive my purpose to be? How am I working to fulfill that prophecy? Well, that's kind of a loaded question. Okay.
We didn't meet for a couple weeks, so we figured we'd
Yeah,
throw something in.
right. That's a big one. Did anyone after listening to that class and re-listening to that class, did anyone how did that class affect you as you processed, as you listened to it? What did it help you? What did it make you see? What did it bring you in conflict with? What are some things that people experienced after that class? Anyone want to say anything about that one?
The next day, I went and I did Reiki on my mom, which, you know my relationship with her.
Right.
So it was really, I talked about doing it for a while, but I was like, I have to be in a really good space to do it. And so after that class, like separating myself from being her daughter,
Yes.
per se, is really what, I've been avoiding it for a while. Just in my head, like, oh, I can't get there tonight, I really have to do X, Y, or Z, and oh. And so, after that class, like, it was the most beautiful hour. Like, I had this completely different connection, and what I was able to help her with, I couldn't have done it without really separating myself from the relationship as
As
a
the
mother,
who?
and just, as her, that relationship that, you know, having to work through so much from that.
Right.
But it was beautiful. It was the most, it helped her. She was like healed of a couple of different things.
Beautiful.
But I couldn't have done it. And I think that's what I kept reiterating everything from that class. And then I went Wednesday and did it on her. And it was really just separating where I really come from.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know, if you to kind of put that class in a synopsis, you know, you never have to be downstream from something that would be best served if you were upstream. You know, just get upstream and then flow down into situations. Don't put yourself downstream and try and get beyond it. Just shift your perspective to being upstream. And then it's just natural to flow down into it as you can. And know that as the water flows downstream, it's going to hit the rocks, it's going to hit things, but it just goes around it and makes its way through things. It's not fighting to prove anything. It's not fighting to acknowledge anything. It's not fighting to get anywhere. It's coming from a place and just wants to dissipate itself down into something. And that's the big. There was so many amazing things in that class, but that's a big takeaway. Whenever you're feeling stifled by a situation, you're probably putting yourself downstream from it. Just put yourself in a perspective of that class, where you come from, what you really are. That puts you upstream, and you can just flow down into things. And whatever you penetrate, change, or bring about, great. If not, you just flow. You just flow.
I think one of the things that I got is in the first question. My answer to, am I budding, growing, blooming, fading, dying, and or dropping away? Yes.
Mhm.
And it's not just one, it's not just the other. It's this part of me is dying, and this part of me is growing. And affirmed after the chamber last time that it's a lot bigger than I thought, the me that has continued. And so, for me, that puts everything in perspective.
Yeah.
Because if that's all happening, then what I perceive around me doesn't really make a difference because I'm in this process.
That's it. That's beautifully said. You know, everything is always doing everything. And just our planet is an example of that, okay? We're experiencing what season in this hemisphere? Winter. Okay, and in the southern hemisphere they're experiencing what? Summer. We're experiencing night, and another part of the planet is experiencing what? Day. It's all happening all the time. You can see that truth everywhere you look in life. The moment that someone is passing from their body and exiting this earth, I can guarantee you someone's doing what? Coming in. I mean, you know something is the truth when it's everywhere. Something, to me, the truth is something that is undeniable. You look at it in every way you find it to be true, you find it to be undeniable. That when someone dies, someone is born. Where there is sunshine, there is darkness. Where there is life, there is death. Life contains all those things. So, I gave you quite a bit to process last time, and I'm going to continue on tonight. The major teaching that I'm going to be bringing you into in 2017 is the Awakening of Immortality. You have come from a place of consciousness that allows you to be based in time. And when you are based in time, you are going to be based in mortality. And when you're based in mortality, you're going to be based in time. What Kat experienced, and what everyone that has a past life release experiences, is that all of a sudden their idea of time is very, very changed when they go through an experience where I overheard, I think I was correct, that for a little while after her last visit in the chamber, she couldn't even remember her name.
Well, I didn't remember, no, I can remember my name because I wear a name tag. No, but I couldn't remember anything that was said.
Right.
I knew what happened, but I couldn't remember anything that was said.
And how has your experience changed since you were in the chamber for that?
It doesn't matter. Whatever I'm having a fuss about at the moment doesn't matter.
Right. Now what she's starting to experience, without giving it a name, is she's beginning to experience immortality. That is the beginning of immortality. It is the beginning of the consciousness that has the awareness within it that says, how much is this going to matter in 100 years, 1,000 years? When we're not in that time space, perspective is completely different. Now, to some extent, your beliefs, as we know, have an effect on your cellular matter. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But as you enter into the space of immortality, and you truly start practicing living your immortal life now, not that you haven't been immortal prior to this, you were just not able to be conscious that you were immortal. You were not able to process that reality. So we created the illusion of time. And we based this illusion on the sun, how many times we orbited it, how many times we related it to the experiences we had with things around the sun, stars, moon times, all that. We were trying to develop some type of pattern, construct to live within. And when we did it based on seasons and cycles, that was very useful. Helped us learn how to plant, how to ready for seasons, all that good stuff. But then we got into a calendar. And when we got into calendars, then we started to get into the measurement of time
versus the awareness of seasonal change. Seasonal change, sunrise, sunset, was timeless. It continued to happen on and on and on. So, it didn't entrap us as much. But we were still looking for something to govern our experience. The great part about it is as you embrace and start just practicing immortality and using time as nothing more than a language to coordinate events, not a measurement of your existence, you begin to see what is really possible in the human form, as we call it. Because think about what your cells, which come from an incarnate source, they come from an infinite source, they have the ability in them to continue to recreate, to go through life and death, regenerate, at a level we haven't even fully begun to realize yet. But when they're told something, you're this many years old, you only live this long, or they're constantly stressed by the notion of time, I have to be there by this time, or else I can't be late. The cells interpret that as some type of absolute judgment, when really it's just a coordination. What would your cells do if they were affirmed in their immortality? Now, for the beginning of time, we've had this notion, as far as back as we have remembrance and cave drawing, we have this notion that there's something in the afterlife, that there's something, it goes on. We have no proof of that, okay, as we're making these drawings, but something in us is drawn to say this, to represent it, to plan for it in many cultures, right? All of a sudden we start having a past life experience, okay, in your case, which I've had plenty of my own, I think many of you have had them, and all of a sudden the thought that there's something more turns into the reality that there's something more. That it isn't an experience that can be measured in time, it's something beyond that.
I think we do that to kids as they're coming into this world. I think we limit what a lot of parents would say is imagination. Others would say remembering other times.
Yes.
My son used to remember other times, and instead of saying, oh, that's great, you're telling me a story, I would talk to him as if it were real, because it was real. It was real to him. And I think we implant that idea of time, and before I was born there was no time. And after I die there'll be no time. And I think we do that very early on.
Right. Well, it's been done for generations, okay? And I've talked to you about many things, and I never speak about the things that I no longer believe are useful for some people in a way that means they're no longer useful for anyone. Many people need to be indoctrinated with the essence of time in the same way they feel they need to be indoctrinated with baptism to know that they're protected in some way, that they're a part of something, okay? But these are all traditions. They're all symbolism. They're all things that are done to say, now you're this. Because of this, now you're this. Where in the place of the practice, we're stepping out of those things more, and we're saying, I trust in what it is. And what it is timeless. It is timeless. Something in us knows we are immortal. And if we embrace that which in us that knows we are immortal, we will begin to live life as that immortal being. And in that space of immortality, we give what our form is, which is nothing more than a manifesting form, full permission to be its immortal self, its immortal form. To believe that it doesn't die. That it goes through change, it goes through coming together and falling apart, It goes through the same thing that everything in life goes through, but it doesn't die. It goes through death. It goes through death. Now, if you continue to have constructs of mortality, you'll say, yeah, well, my mother died and she's no longer walking around. I would say, as far as you know. I would beg to say, she is. And I have a better chance of being right, even though I can't prove it, than you do. Eventually, you will realize that believing in such an absolute thing is foolish. And as soon as you've had your first past life experience, you'll know just how foolish it is. And you've had some incredible ones too, Don, that have really been powerful and connected to some issues you've had. So how do we live immortally? Well, first of all, we accept that there is something within us that has been drawing us closer to our realization of immortality from the very beginning. To be immortal, we cannot be ourselves. We have to be that which we are. We have to be the essence of life. I had a wonderful visit with Sarah, and one of the things that I spoke to her about when I was demonstrating the innate nature of immortality is the process of evolution and things that once that were single cellular organisms in the ocean, they started forming multicellular organisms, and they became different reptilian forms, crustacean forms, and eventually some of those things walked out of the water. Now, if they believed in mortality, why the hell would they walk out of the water? They would die. They did it knowing they would live. They did it knowing they would live. They innately did it. And they did it over God knows how many thousands and thousands and millions of years. They walked out, they walked out, they walked out. After so much time, all of a sudden, they walked out, they lived 5 minutes. They walked out, they lived 10 minutes. All of a sudden, they walked out, they had lungs. These things didn't happen. That we know. We have fossils. We have things that show us these things evolved. They were willing to enter into their immortality, to go into an unknown zone. You are the product of that ability. It is in you to venture into these unknown spaces. Unknown spaces of consciousness. As they left the water and walked on land, we must leave mortality and walk into immortality. Look at all that would not have been discovered by the organisms on this planet if they would have stayed in the ocean. Look at all that we would not have seen if we would not have ventured into these spaces of unknown. Immortality is the last frontier. It is the venture into unlimited space and potential. Do we have any idea how to live in that space? You know, aside from how we live in it. I mean, we're living in it. We're just living in it unconsciously. But do we know how to live in it consciously? No, and here's why. Because your brain is based in mortality still. You have to continue to bring your brain into this immortal space. Remind it, I live forever. I am forever. I go on forever. This is no big deal. Because your whole sense of logic on some level is built around mortality and preservation. So again, if you go back in other classes, you'll say, well, geez, but you told us a while ago that we need to work on preserving and taking care of ourselves and doing these basic things to survive. And the answer is yes, you need to do those things so that you put that foundation in place so that you can move on to your immortality. What's one of the biggest dangers of immortality? You can't kill yourself. There's no escaping. There's no getting out of anything. There's only going through. There's no suicide. Think of how powerful it is for you, as you realized in that moment, you couldn't commit suicide by having that bowl of sugar. You made yourself a healthy dinner. That's an immortal choice. I'm here. I might as well be healthy.
They killed me.
If it kills you. It's a whole new sense of logic. Because there's no suicide and there's no avoidance.
And there's no hiding.
And there's no hiding. All there is the unknown. Because in your immortality, what do you really know? You know, consciously. There's unconscious memory of what it is to not be in your body. There's unconscious memory of what it is to travel out of your body and through time and space. Time meaning not years, but that way. What's going to happen is we consciously awaken the afterlife. As you feel comfortable with immortality, you will begin to fully remember what it was to not be in flesh. The memory of that experience exists in the field of consciousness. It just exists, and it's accessible to those who accept immortality, because they don't have any disbelief that says that wasn't real, that wasn't there. It has to be. Here's what it also does. It frees you from the purpose of having a past. Because what's the point of remembering something when you're immortal? What's the point of it? How long are you going to hold on to something that isn't genuinely useful in the moment that you're in? All those things are wrapped up in the equation of time. What's the point if you're immortal? Next level. What's the point of staying angry at someone if you're immortal? How long are you going to stay angry at them? Are you going to stay angry at them forever? If you're not going to stay angry at them forever, let it go. Because it's either you're going to do it forever or you're going to stop. That's it in immortality. Now, as crazy as it all sounds, it's exactly what the practice is starting to teach us at the end of the book. The practice is the beginning of showing you how to live your immortal life now. It's how to live eternally now. And that's why as we go into this new year, we begin the exploration of immortal life. Immortal life does not follow death. Immortal life follows the death of mortality. The consciousness of mortality must die for your immortal life to begin. Not your mortal body, your mortal consciousness. In that space, what will tell your cells to die? Nothing. You will not tell them to die at all. They will only go through that change as the trees do, as the sun does, as the stars do. They'll go through that change as every other structure in the universe goes through it, as a direct effect of life force taking them through it. Not trying to stop it, not trying to avoid it, going through all the phases as everything does all the time. But going through it, knowing that you're immortally going through it, not mortally going through it. Not going through it wondering, is there life after death? Going through it, realizing you're living the life after a death. You're all wondering whether there's life after death. You're living the life after death. In fact, you're living a life probably after a couple thousand deaths of one form or another. When the consciousness of immortality permeates the consciousness of what we call humanity more and more, and we are all embracing this immortal existence, why would you harm another person? Why would you do that? Because...
Can we make that process go a little faster?
Well, I'm doing the best I can. I'm finally talking about it. I mean, I don't know if others have, and if they have, I honor them. I don't know of anyone else who's talking about immortality now. So I feel very honored and blessed to be given the words and the wisdom to begin teaching. This is not incarnation. This is continuum, ongoing, not based in a physical form, not even based in a lifetime anymore. It's immortality. What I'm finding is that as I help people cross over into this consciousness of immortality, the rate of healing is accelerating exponentially. And the hardest part for people to get through the canal is their heads. Mm-hmm. And there's no surprise that the hardest part for a woman to get through her body is the kid's head. And we call it crowning, right? When the baby's head is right there and the woman's going, Jesus Christ! Or whatever their God is at that point. Or their demon for that matter, you know? Get this thing out of me! The head's always the hardest part, right? Once that head comes through. But what I'm finding is that everyone's going through this process metaphorically. Breach. Their bodies are through. They're through. But what's caught is their head. Because they believe they have to understand something before they can give themselves to the experience of it. And that is such bullshit. You don't understand anything that you're experiencing. You have to accept that you don't understand something. Be open to the full benefit. Then maybe sometime in the next 1,000 years you may begin to actually understand what it is you're experiencing. But do you want to hold on? I don't recommend it. So people's heads are getting stuck. Because up until this lifetime, you know, especially in the human form, okay, they've all been based in this mortality. So it's like taking everything and turning it upside down. But you have to develop a new mind to live in immortality. You have to let your immortal mind take root. You have to let it. And you have to let it. I'm not telling you have to do anything. You have to let it. The conversion from mortal mind to immortal mind, it'll happen. Life will do it. You don't know what the hell you're doing. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. My mind didn't switch over to more of an immortal mind because I knew what I was doing. I just let go. Because if I didn't let go, I was going crazy. Because it didn't make sense anymore. And instead of running my mind like crazy, trying to make sense of what didn't make sense, I let my mind turn into a mind that didn't need to make sense of it and could start to understand, oh, this is why it doesn't make sense. Because I was completely wrong about the whole foundation being mortal. That would make sense. That's why none of it made sense. That's why I could never derive any purpose with that mind. Where the purpose of the practice, to practice being loving, peaceful, accepting, compassionate, that is an immortal practice. It works in immortality. That's how I know it's the truth, because it works in the space of immortality. If something only works in a space of mortality, that's great. But at some point, you become aware of immortality, and it doesn't work. What's going to happen to all, not to all, but to some extent, what's going to happen to all religious beliefs when people realize they're immortal? They're gone. Isn't that just amazing? What's happened to all of us as and all of us, I mean, there's so many of us that have studied different religious beliefs, What's happened to all of our context of religious beliefs as we've given ourselves to this practice? What have they all started to do?
They're crumbling.
They crumble away. They have a different context. They're not what we're standing on anymore. But we can, but in a weird way, we can understand them on a level that makes them even more beneficial.
They're pure.
Yeah, they're pure.
And right-sized.
Yeah, and right size, proportion.
Yeah.
Immortality has a habit of putting things in perspective. Nothing like it. It's a big pill to swallow, but just be with it. All I ask you to do is just practice it. Just practice reminding yourself that you're immortal. And one of the mantras I used for many, many years that I was, all the things I share with you are things that were given to me. I've never come up with anything. Even if I've said it, it's just been something I said out of ignorance. There's nothing to come up with. Everything's already been come up with. There's nothing to come up with. So if I ever said I came up with it, that was just me being silly. Everything I've ever said has been given to me to say. Release resistance to the body of God. Release resistance to the mind of God. Release resistance to the wisdom of God, to the knowing of God. Let it go. You want everything you are to be nothing but that of God. You want all of you that believed you were you to dissipate. Because all of you that believed you were you is on some level based in mortality. Which means it's going to die. You're not going to make it. Because you're based in mortality. So eventually mortality has to pass away.
Good news.
Yeah, it's good news. It's really good news. So the sooner you embrace the immortality, the sooner you give permission for all your cellular memory to die out of your body, and we don't have to do it one visit at a time. Do we understand that, everyone?
Yes.
This is the big one I've been waiting for. Why do I have to go through cellular memory one piece at a time and keep picking it out with a pair of tweezers, okay? It's because I haven't been able to teach immortality. Immortality releases the body from a sense of time, and upon being released from a sense of time, the cells realize the foolishness in remembering something that is irrelevant to their current state of being. They know what to do. They just had to be given permission to override the mortality frequency that has been sent to them by the belief system of consciousness that was inhabiting them. So even if you can't wrap your head around what I'm saying, just start saying it.
How does it relate to I am the is, not the who?
It is exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
You are that which is immortal. It's,
I am the is.
you are the is, you are the what. And that's why if you look back at the classes, we've been being taken right down the road to this. And it's been, we've been going down this path, and I've been sharing it with you, I've been receiving more and more and more and more information on the reality of it. And I'm receiving more and more undeniable events that show me this is what I'm supposed to be teaching. The practice teaches us to live our eternal life. Now, I've known that for years. How funny that I could have told you that 5 years ago. What is the practice teaching us? Well, it's teaching us how to live our eternal life now. But if you would have asked me, oh, okay, does that mean that we're completely immortal? I said, well, I think so. So I want everyone to understand, it's not like there's no right or wrong in any of this. This is just what's happening now. This is what consciousness is going through now. And we are beings of this consciousness. So as this field of consciousness is awakening to its own immortality, that which manifests from this field of consciousness must awaken to that immortality as well.
Well, what you're saying in a very simplified form, and you'll disagree with me, I know you don't agree.
Yeah.
Is that by learning about immortality or recognizing it, what you're doing is you're being in the now.
That's it.
It's very simple.
There's nowhere else to be.
Right. And if you learn to be in the now, the rest of it flows.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Remember our mantra we were doing that Ram Dass said, be here now, now be here, be here now, now be here. We were doing that for our classes. Okay, that's exactly it. When you're immortal, there's nowhere else to be but here. And here is now.
But the now is forever.
The now is forever.
Just keeps going.
It just
There's
keeps
no
going.
past and there's no future.
There's no past and there's no future. The only reason there's a past and a future is if you're still in a place of immortality, if you're still in a place of mortality.
Or time.
Or time, because then you're defining yourself based on it. But when you no longer need to define yourself on it, then it no longer exists.
And if I can relate to what Kat did, you reach the point where in the now you know what is right for you. You don't always do what is right for you. But when you start living truly in the now, you know that, okay, I'm going to eat junk, okay. But in the next moment of the now, you go, well, now I'm going to eat salmon, okay. And it happens, and you don't question it. You just go with it, and you don't chastise yourself if you do something going backwards.
Right. So what it does is, okay, again, what immortality, one of the main effects, and we'll talk about them again and again, this perspective of immortality, the effect it's going to have on addiction, it's going to, it's going to devastate it. Okay? Because you can now ask yourself the question, am I going to be an addict forever? And the answer is always what? No!
So why not do that now?
So why not do it now? Am I going to be a slave forever? No. Well, then you might as well stop now. Or even if you can't stop it, okay, you're in it knowing that it's not going to last what? Forever. And you can be at peace with that process that you're eventually going to be done with. It's such salvation. It's such salvation. Because you're no longer asking the question, when? Or why?
I would say the logic of the mortality points to what was I going to say now? It points to a sort of a dependent. Everything is more dependent, whereas the other logic of immortality is a logic of independence.
Yes. You're right on. Okay? I mean, mortality has a purpose, all right? I want everyone that's listening, that is hearing me in this room. Mortality has a purpose, the same as religion and other things do, okay? They create a sense of motivation. At a certain level of consciousness, people need to be motivated by an outcome. I need to do these things before I die. I need to get this done before I die. It's the same thing as pain. I don't want to be in pain, so I'll do this. But at a certain point, we no longer need to be motivated by those types of things. Our consciousness has evolved past the need for that level of motivation. So to use it is to use something that's not good for us anymore and limits our potential. It doesn't maximize our potential. It's a law of diminishing return. You understand it? It helps to a certain point, but then it starts to hinder. We have to know that when we get to this point with whatever it is, religion or time or whatever the belief is, once we get to a certain point where it starts to yield diminishing returns, we have to let it go and go, what's the next thing? Because there's always going to be another way of looking at it. And what I see is this is the diminishing return of mortality. And we have to let go of mortality and move into immortality. And for all I know, there will be something beyond immortality, the best I can conceive of it, that will be more beneficial than immortality for all I know. Because we're just using words to try and describe something we have no idea what the hell we're even talking about, right? So there's possibility of something beyond what we can even conceive could be useful or helpful. It has to exist. We just can't even wrap a word or an idea or a notion around it. Like we couldn't around immortality. But that is something we can wrap a notion around now. There was something before, there is something now, and there will be something after. Just the fact that that is true is enough for us to embrace immortality. So we will talk about immortality, and we will begin practicing immortality. And we'll begin applying the perspective of immortality to our lives. So our 2017 is going to begin with entering through the doorway of immortality. And practicing what we've been learning and owning that we are immortal beings practicing living our eternal life right now. And let's begin to have experiences and play with that. And let's begin to gather data and information on how we feel and how things go and how we do with things. Let's gather data on the conscious practice of immortality and begin to share it with others. We've all risen from the dead. We wouldn't be here if we didn't. It is not probable. It is right in this room. Those were not always the carbon atoms of your body. They were the carbon atoms of another life form or another body or something else at one point in time, right? And that something else no longer exists, but now you exist, right? So have those atoms been raised from the dead? Yes. The only thing that would make you say no is being small-minded and saying, well, yeah, but they weren't her. But we're not talking about that anymore. We are the what. And that what was something else, and it was alive at some point. And now the energy of that what and the molecules of that what are you. So what was dead has risen from the dead. So does God have the power to bring things into life? Yes.
All the time.
All the time. And does God bring things into life that were once out of life?
Yes.
Yes. If you look at God as the force and source of creation, the energy behind all things, the answer is yes. If you release all the reasons and the dogma and the small-mindedness that gives you the right to say no, at a certain point you have to, because why would you want to hold on to something that makes you say no to what's undeniably true? That's mortal. I am not mortal. I refuse to behave like a mortal being. My consciousness, given to me from God, gives me full permission to claim something much bigger and much better for all of us to be true. This is the good news. Salvation has always been here. It is a natural part of life. Embrace it. Eat of it. Drink of it. Thank you for giving me the strength, the wisdom, and the focus to convey that message. Chamber?
You want this?
Okay, we've got Robin is going to be first.
I'm up here already.
Are we still rolling there?
Yes, we're rolling.
Just
Beauty.
be yourself.
Everybody ready to do some of this now? Has everybody got a little left in you there? Riveted. All right, so we got the chamber. We have Dorothy. We have Mo. Dorothy is a friend of Julie's, and so we're going to do some work for her, Mo. And then we have Kathleen. Such a sweet, sweet visit with Kathleen today, and we're just going to put her in the chamber today. And we're going to start with Robin because she's right here. So I'm going to hold on to these, and let's start with Robin.
It's okay.
Don't bite. I know.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's the best way to be about it, right?
Great.
You paid attention.
Isn't that great? Robin, if there's anything that you would want any healing on, what would it be?
My broken heart.
Oh. I say this with complete confidence. That's easy. Anything that's broken was once unbroken. All I ask ask you to do is just release all purpose to have a broken heart any longer. The purpose of your broken heart is to protect you from having a broken heart again. So in protecting yourself from having your heart broken, you're leaving your heart broken. No one else would want a broken heart for any other reason. So we're just going to go ahead and release you from not wanting to have a broken heart again. And we're going to put that heart right back together. There it goes. Feet is nice and strong now. All the broken hearts, everywhere. Robin stepping forward to bring you all into this chamber. Is your heart going to stay broken forever, Robin? No, it's not about hope. We're not based in hope and faith here. Is your heart going to stay broken forever? No. Does anything stay broken forever? No. So why not just let it be healed now? You don't need anyone to feel bad for you. You don't need to suffer with it any longer. It's not serving any purpose, is it? Beautiful. Say, I'm done. Even if it gets broken again, say that. I want it healed now. To be loving is worth having a broken heart. I forgive all those who broke it. As I ask for forgiveness for all the hearts I have broken. For we have all had a broken heart. And we've all given one. I want my balance to be zeroed out. There it goes. What I hold against another. Say it.
What I hold against another.
I hold against myself.
I hold against myself.
I release all fear
I release all fear
around love
around love.
and give it full freedom.
And give it full freedom.
It's good. It's going to be great now. It's all done. Way to be totally present. Way to be totally present.
Remember?
It was awesome. I love you for doing that for everybody. Your healing is everyone's healing, so everyone who was ready and willing to have their heart healed and to let go of everything that you did, they're just feeling an incredible lightness of being right now, all around the world, all around the universe. Every being of God that was willing to accept that healing received it, so we thank you for coming forward and being the catalyst for that. Courageous people bring wonderful change. Dorothy has some health problems, so can I have someone just give me a little human model to be Dorothy here? Just step over. Give me Dorothy. Yeah, let me just.
The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Let's just see what Dorothy is here. Okay. All right, Dorothy. You're good. I'm going to just run it right into her.
Okay.
Dorothy, you've lived your life grounded in fear. When we ground ourselves in fear, when we go through trauma and pain, the immediate thing we feel is fear, because we're grounded into it. We generate it. You're done creating fear in every situation. You're done grounding into it. You're done letting it be your common denominator. Love, peace, acceptance, and compassion. Space of honesty. Let those be what you ground yourself into. Don't ground yourself into the single pole of fear. Instead, ground yourself into those poles. They will give you peace. They will give you stability. They will get you through everything you have to get through. Resist the temptation to ground yourself into fear. It's a habit. It doesn't make anything better, and it doesn't help you survive, Dorothy. And if you're not willing to live in fear for all eternity, Dorothy, then I command you to stop living in fear right now. If you're not going to do it forever, then stop it now. You are immortal as we spoke of others today. And because your immortality consciously begins as you accept this healing, your pathway is not one of fear any longer. It is one of love, acceptance, compassion. To be at peace with things that you don't understand. To forgive others for what they have done to you, because you know in your eternity, past, present, and future, you have done such things to others. Zero out the balance. All our love to you, Dorothy, as you recover beautifully from this situation. We're going to go to Kathleen right now. Kathleen's a regular watcher of the show, and Kathleen is going to be having a procedure done on Monday. And we had a wonderful visit today, and she's in a beautiful place. And I just want you all to say this to Kathleen with me. It's already over.
It's already over.
And you're going to be fine.
And you're going to be fine.
There you go. Beautiful. We had one more Mo, right? Was it Mo?
Yeah.
Mo is having an issue, and whether he or she knows it or not, it's tied to some kind of spiritual attachment. So we're going to go ahead, everyone, and I just want you to picture a being standing in the middle of us, and we just want to just completely shower her with white light. We just want to give her a shower. And just send this beautiful white light all over her, showering her with it. And let's use this beautiful visualization. Everyone knows what a power washer is, right? When you just power wash that, you just see all that stuff just come flying off. We're just doing that for Mo right now. We're just power washing her spirit so that the beautiful white light within her, whoa, there we go. The beautiful white light within her just shines. And as that bright light shines from her, it is the natural deterrent. It is the natural guard. It is the natural protectant. So that all her fear of being attacked ever again will be gone from her. Beautiful. Wow. We really started 2017 off with a really amazing experience. Thank you so much all for being here. Without you all here, there'd be no reason for me to be here. Thank you so much. Love you all. We'll see you next week.
That's a wrap.